if you want.
Oh, I'm sure all of you can. Karen Leone will have an opportunity to show what a brief speech looks like.
Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi nui ki koutou. I just want to start by saying on a positive note, we live in an amazing and beautiful city, which is vibrant, cultured and fast developing. I'm proud to be living here as a wahine Māori and a mother of a young whānau who are using all of these community services every day. I want to acknowledge the difficulties we face as an incoming governing board and the mayor with a combination of inflation and continued financial issues this country has faced, along with Tamaki Makaurau over the past 3 years. I have concerns and some reservations about the budget, but I understand we do need to make cuts. I also want to thank those who have made contact with me and the Faux Local Board for their feedback as a result of their last business meeting. Some of the organisations that have been in contact include Zeal and West Auckland, arts and the culture sector. Obviously the airport chairs have been a big issue, ECE, Southern Initiative, Western Initiative and Comet. There has been some very impressive work done by these organisations and what they have provided over the years. Local board funding, LDI and the community rely on the funding in my view, and it's important we look at finding alternative ways to make cuts. Airport shares, I understand this will be an ongoing debate. I want to acknowledge Councillor Simpson and Councillor Henderson and the work they did in the previous term leading finances. I was steadily watching at local board level and appreciate the work they did with the councillors. I also want to say I'm not against lowering debt ceilings going forward, so we do have some things in common when we talk about debt. Working together with central government is necessary going forward on some of our shared goals, and this has been highlighted as a result of this budget. I also want to reiterate our statutory obligation to have a balanced budget which also meets the needs of the four well-beings in our communities. I'm open-minded that through consultation and understanding that some ratepayers in Tamaki Makaurau may actually prefer to have slightly more increased rates. Look at Tauranga, for example, 22%. If it will save funding for our communities and support in place if we can't find it elsewhere, we do have to think about these things. I'm also aware of the interest rates on mortgages rising and having to cover these costs. I know the rates on one of my properties in the far north has a much higher rate level than Auckland, and no offence to the far north, but I do think we get more for our money here. I will, however, vote for the budget today and support it along with the consultation process, and I'm hopeful we will engage with our vulnerable communities, including Māori and Pacifica, particularly those who access these community services in Tamaki Makaurau. Kia ora, and thank you for the opportunity to kōrero.
Well done. Incidentally, in the far north, the rates include what you get charged separately by water care here. That's why it seems a bit different. But well done. Chris Darby, the pressure's on you now.
Thanks, Mayor. Can I have a clarification? And thank you, Mayor, for incorporating the amendments that Councillor Foley and I proposed on the G. Can I just have one small tweak? And I think it was just maybe a miscommunication. Under the GI, after the percentage, 10%, can we put in inverted commas, blocking stake shareholding? It is important, Mayor, because it's not just a 10%. 10% has relevance under the rules of the NXX. It's a blocking stake. Would you like to incorporate just an inverted commas, blocking stake?
Yeah, I don't mind doing that. But of course, if there is a further capital raise and we don't meet it, we will lose that blocking share with that. So it's blocking at the moment, but you're right, I don't mind putting it in there.
Yep, and hence the word maintaining is important. That's why that's where. So if we could just add in the word blocking to it, blocking stake, inverted commas, and we all know that that can block a compulsory takeover of the company, which is of value. So just speaking to everything, Mayor, at the outset, I'm going to be supporting the motions before us today as amended, but I do have some caveats. and they are significant actually, but I'm not going to be able to list them all here in the time that you have briefly given me. But there is a paucity of detail and detailed understanding in this budget. Now, there's good reason and no reason why that's occurred, both. Truth is, you just cannot undertake a fine-grained analysis, as some people suggest we have been undertaking, and it's definitely not been understood, particularly politically, to any fine-grained level. There's also a paucity in the strategic analysis that's been undertaken here, and that's been confirmed by our Chief of Staff. Now, I raised that in a workshop a long time ago, and it is disappointing that you cannot see this budget through a climate lens. You cannot see it clearly through an equity lens. You know, and that's pretty fundamental. And look, but I think it's a lesson for all of us that we're going to have to up our game and make sure that we look at our finances and not in isolation from the other strategic settings. You know, we're a mature council, probably second only to the Cabinet, and we need to do our business a hell of a lot better in that regard. There's a focus on debt here today, and reducing debt, despite the fact that, you know, our debt revenue ratio is sitting well under the levels, that we get a glowing rating from the credit agencies. We're looking good in that regard. But of course, there is the risk of us pushing up. And I know that you know that, Mayor. But we haven't understood the implementation of Three Waters. That legislation's through now, as a couple of weeks ago. I think there's some $4 billion of debt we're carrying from water care and healthy waters and other assets that will be captured as well. So there's about, I think there's around about $4 billion that drops off. It gets transferred. Of course, the assets get dropped off as well. So we need to understand that in the coming months as well. Though my understanding is that doesn't affect the next financial year, it's the following financial year. But we can't be looking at just the short range, we've got to look at the medium and the long range. Which brings me to the shareholding, and thank you, Mayor, for accommodating and your willingness there to reduce the debt. Truth is, we've been a really weak shareholder. Mayor, you and I have discussed that. We just have been AWOL as a shareholder, and for those of you who have sat around this council table over the last 3 and 6 years, I've told you so. And we've had no desire to appoint a director. And I remember being told we just have a minority shareholder and we can't. That's absolute bollocks. You can appoint a shareholder when you own 22.09%. You can, and Manukau City Council and Auckland Council did, with even smaller shareholdings. And we've been badly advised, but look, it is history now. But we still own $2.1 billion at today's rates. We've had no interest in going to shareholder meetings until recently. Hopefully we did vote, but I don't think until recently did we vote. And we could have been a lot more agile at the capital raising in 2020. We didn't need to own for much more than probably 24 hours. We could have picked it up and passed it on to a willing buyer and pocketed, I don't know, $60, $100 million. But we were not thinkers in that regard, and unfortunately the councillors didn't even know. Won't go there. But well, I'm not averse to entertaining a full or partial sell down, Mr. Mayor. And I'm grateful for the incorporation of these amendments, but we do need to get out a deeper discussion with our community on what it all means and what the upside is and what the downside is. But I never thought I would find myself saying I would contradict what I said in the 2019 campaign to safeguard such strategic assets. But what I've discovered is this council has no idea what the strategic outcomes are from this strategic asset. If you want $2.1 billion to give you a dividend, go and put it in a $2.1 billion diversified fund and make sure it's nice and lower in risk than having it all in one pot. But look, wrapping up, Mayor, because I'd like to have lunch too. There's good things. There's a lot of things I'm concerned about here. I do not want us to see us backpedaling on reducing our climate footprint. I've got my support for this at this stage, but there are some caveats with a big C on it.
Thank you. Not a bad effort. Josephine Bartley.
Thank you, Your Worship. I suppose, something nice before I say something not so nice. I appreciate the opportunity that we've had to look and really look at what council does. You've taken us there, and questioning, should we be in this space? Should council be doing what it's doing? But I think with this budget, it's gone too much on the side of money, looking at money, and we've forgotten about our people. We've forgotten about our communities. And I say that because you look at what's being proposed to be cut, and it is always communities. Why is communities always the first to get cut in anything? And they're sick of it as well. They're constantly having to prove their worth and why they should be continuing to get funding. I think this budget shows that we undervalue arts, we undervalue culture, we undervalue our communities and what they do for us as a city. And we saw the value of them, especially during COVID. Arts was what, I look at my schools, and what was going on there was the children were having difficulty dealing with their emotions, with lockdowns, with COVID. They're scared, and it was arts that they relied on to help the children process their emotions. So arts play a bigger role than just drawing something or a picture on a gallery that you say not many people go to. But yeah, I want to get back to this what's proposed to be cut. And what I took from the officers' advice, because I sat in all the workshops, I kept an open mind. I understand what you say when you say, well, if you're not happy with things, put up alternatives. But that's unrealistic, because we don't have all the information before us to be able to make the swaps here and there. And it's not an easy thing to make swaps in budgets that are billions of dollars, like I don't think any of us are financial analysts or expertise. So we don't have the information to fully be able to make informed decisions on behalf of our communities. So yeah, where I was going with that was sitting in all this, but what really got me was Te Taki Auckland Unlimited's advice and the officer's advice regarding our facilities, that this will result in significantly heightened inequity of access for Aucklanders. And, we talk about equity a lot here, but this budget adds to it, in fact, makes it worse. The ones that benefit from all these services, the regional grants, the grants for events, the grants for arts are all our diverse communities. You look at what events fund: Taiwan Day, Korean Day, Big Gay Out, Japan Day, Polyfest, Pride Festival, Māori Sports Awards. That's all about our diversity as a city, and that's what sets us apart from any other city in the world, is our diversity. And we're just going straight in there with a razor and cutting what makes us great. So I have real concerns about this budget. I have concerns that when we put it out to consultation, we have no guarantees to our communities that we will make the changes that they're asking for. And why should our communities have to come and defend what they're doing and, speak for themselves? That's what they put me in this job for, was to speak for them, to speak on their behalf, to make decisions on their behalf. And here we are, this is putting it back to them to say, speak for yourselves, speak up for yourselves, because, this is what putting this out to public consultation will mean. And a lot of people, they don't have the time to go through and lobby us and email us about this budget and what it means for them, because a lot of them probably don't vote, a lot of them probably don't own homes. And, we're not here just for the ratepayers, we're here for everybody in the city. And we're here for people that don't have the resources to sue us when they're not happy with the decision that we make. So, people in my community that don't normally get involved in council processes or council engagement are now starting to say to me, Josephine, what is going on over there? Please do not support this proposal in any way whatsoever. Please do not let this get the light of day out there in the community. So on their behalf, I cannot support this budget, so I'll be voting against this budget proposal going out to public consultation. Thank you.
Fair enough. Sharon Stewart.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll keep it very sweet and short. And I think some of the ones that haven't spoken, will also be supporting your mayoral proposal to go out to public consultation. Thank you.
The winner. Rowley. The Deputy Mayor hopefully will round us out.
Thank you, Your Worship. My comments are going to be to my colleagues. As a new mayor, arguably elected to deliver change, Mayor Brown has been faced with an unenviable position of having to fill a budget gap larger than even those most familiar with our books expected, some 295 million. And that wasn't from poor financial management, it was through circumstances beyond our control. Just to give you an idea of the size of that gap, 295 million is more than the total planned capital investment in our parks and community facilities next year. It's more than the total residential rates paid by the great wards of, highly rated wards of both Ōrākei and Waitemata. And it's more than the residential rates paid on the North Shore, i.e. the Devonport, Takapuna, Kaipātiki, Hibiscus and Bays local board area. So it's a big number. What he has done in a very short time is put together a proposal that staff have confirmed is credible, sustainable, affordable and implementable. The proposal includes both actions that can be taken now to meet our fiscal challenge, but also sets us up for future discussions in our LTP. It's not just a short, sharp fix. So first he took on the big beast of how to save money. And you've got to remember that we have done this in the past, haven't we? We have last term, through savings and efficiency, found some $500 million. We've already done that. The Mayor has chosen the highest savings figure that this council will have ever done before in trying to find 130 million. And I commend you on that, Your Worship. Highest ever figure that council has done the savings. Because when he was elected, people said to me about him, he said he would go in there and try and sort some savings out. But it will be tough because we've already done the low-hanging fruit. And there will be some real tough discussions that our community will have around how those savings targets will be met. But that's the purpose of consultation, to propose, to ask, and more importantly, to listen. Then there's the issue of the airport shares, and I just want to clarify some facts around this because I don't think that all of you really understand the staff advice around there. Because it's quite clear what I think the staff are saying here. Even if AIAL resumes paying dividends, in fact resumes paying major annual dividends of 50 million or Mike even 60 million a year, and that's not guaranteed necessarily anytime soon, there is still not likely to be any net benefit, noting that these shares cost us just under $90 million a year to retain. So then I'll move on to rates. The Mayor has recognised we need to limit the demand on ratepayers during a difficult financial time for everyone. And whilst this will be the first time that rates will be lower than inflation, he's also ensured that by pausing the differential and cutting the income from NETA and the water quality targeted rate, that we end up with a 4.66% rates increase. Now, the water quality targeted rate and the natural environmental targeted rate work programs will not change. The work stays, even though the income has been reduced by 2/3. And as for our rates income, there is still 63% of our income coming from other sources. The rates income for this year remains at 37%. This proposal does not go to the ratepayer alone to fund that gap. People, I believe that the 2023 calendar year will be incredibly tough for Aucklanders, and this budget acknowledges that as it looks to be implemented come the 1st of July. But despite constraints, this proposal still keeps an investment capital program as high as ever. In fact, higher than ever, in excess of 2.8 billion. And this city needs that investment. Councillors, having walked many of you through an emergency budget and a recovery budget, I firmly believe that the budget challenges associated with this one trump anything we have ever done before. In a minute we will vote. I do urge you all to keep an open mind on all aspects and commend it for public consultation, because our consultation document will be key to explaining to Aucklanders the Mayor's thinking and offering them options. As a seconder to the Mayor's proposal, I do so knowing it delivers a well thought out and sustainable solution with a mix of mitigation levers that will mean Aucklanders are not automatically faced with a rates increase of up to 13.5% in the middle of a cost of living increase and what will undoubtedly be followed by a recession. I commend it to the vote. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. The motion has been proposed and seconded, and so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour of the motion, which is
Aye.
Aye. To the contrary? Would you like it recorded?
No. Yes, I would like it recorded. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. The motion is carried and lunch will be served somewhere or other.
In the Councillors' Lounge on this floor.
The Councillors' Lounge on this floor. Thank you very much, and we will resume. We're going to resume at 3, which seems a long time to me, but still.